Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something that feels really central to how we chase happiness these days. It's this concept of the dopamine fantasy.
Hmm.
We've been reading this really insightful article from Knowledge is King that breaks it down. I think this might hit home for a lot of us.
Yeah, I think so too. It really paints a clear picture, doesn't it? This idea that we're constantly pursuing pleasure, thinking that's the path to, real lasting happiness.
Right.
But often it argues it's just about chasing that fleeting dopamine rush.
Yeah.
It uses examples like buying things, social media, stuff we all kind of do.
Totally. And the core idea, the sort of thesis, is that we trick ourselves into believing that just stringing together enough enjoyable moments, enough little pleasures, will somehow equal genuine fulfillment. And dopamine is right there in the middle of it all.
It is. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter, the brain chemical. That's all about reward and pleasure.
Right.
When we do something our brain likes, it could be getting a compliment, finding a bargain, scrolling through fun videos.
Yeah.
It releases dopamine. And that gives us that little buzz, that feeling of satisfaction or even excitement.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit more because the article really stresses that these dopamine hits, they're inherently short-lived, right?
Exactly. That's crucial. It's like a flash, not a steady glow. You feel good for a moment, but it fades. And then what?
Then you want another one.
Precisely. Which leads to this phrase the article uses that I found really striking, dopamine, spelled out like that.
Ah,
It
okay.
really drives home this image of like digging endlessly in a mine for something that keeps disappearing. You get a little nugget of pleasure, it vanishes, so you have to dig again for the next one.
That really resonates. Think about buying something you've wanted for ages. There's that initial thrill, right, when you finally get
Oh
it.
yeah, big rush.
But how long does that specific feeling, that excitement, actually last? A day? A week, maybe. Then that just becomes stuff. And then you start looking around for the next thing. The article captures that cycle really well.
And our online life just pours fuel on that fire, doesn't it? Social media platforms, they're almost perfectly engineered to give us those tiny, frequent dopamine boosts.
Notifications, likes.
Yeah, the endless scroll. It trains us, often without us even realizing it, to constantly look outside ourselves for that little hit of validation, that quick reward.
And the danger there, the article argues, is that it conditions us. We start to internalize this belief that happiness is something you get from outside, from buying things or getting likes or achieving the next goal, rather than something cultivated, internally.
And linking this to relationships. Well, the article brings up a really interesting point about confusing that initial intense excitement in a new romance, which, let's be honest, is pretty heavy on the dopamine.
Oh, for sure, that head over heels feeling.
Right, confusing that with genuine, sustainable love. That initial intensity can feel like everything.
It's intoxicating. But the article warns, quite rightly, I think, against mistaking that early phase, that kind of chemical high, for the deeper stuff. It even suggests that chasing that high might lead some people to jump from relationship to relationship, always seeking that initial buzz rather than, putting in the work for something lasting.
Which really forces you to ask, what is real love then in this context? The article contrasts that dopamine-fueled excitement, that novelty rush, with genuine love built on things like deep emotional connection, mutual respect, ongoing support.
Things that take time.
Exactly. Things that develop and deepen and aren't just about that constant newness or excitement.
It makes you think about the wider environment, too. The article then shifts focus a bit to how media and corporations kind of play into this whole dopamine fantasy, maybe even profit from it.
Oh, definitely. Think about advertising. It rarely just sells you a product based on its function, does it?
No, it sells a feeling.
Right. It sells happiness, belonging, success, coolness. They're directly linking their product to that desirable feeling, tapping right into our desire for that dopamine hit we associate with achieving it.
And social media influencers, they often present these incredibly polished lives. It's a highlight reel,
Yeah.
which can easily make you feel like you're missing out, and that maybe if you just bought what they have or lived like they seem to, you'd get that same happiness.
And for businesses, it's a brilliant model, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Constant new releases, upgrades, trends. It keeps us hooked on that cycle of wanting, getting, wanting again.
Keeps us consuming.
Exactly. We're pursuing these little dopamine rewards,
Yeah.
and that drives sales.
So, okay, let's talk about the downsides. The article is pretty clear that constantly chasing the rush has real costs. It's
Yeah.
not just about the money we spend, is it?
No, not at all. The biggest cost, arguably, is that it can lead to this underlying persistent feeling of dissatisfaction. because the deep fulfillment we're actually craving never quite arrives.
It's always just around the corner.
Yeah. And as the article points out, chasing the next high can mean we neglect other vital parts of life, like building strong relationships or personal growth, focusing on our mental well-being. We get so focused on the quick fix.
That we lose sight of the bigger picture.
Exactly. We lose sight of what actually nourishes us long term.
And there's another layer too. This constant need, this sort of addictive pattern can make us vulnerable. The article touches on manipulation.
Yes, that's a really stark point it makes. Our fundamental drive for pleasure, for that dopamine release, can actually be exploited.
How so?
Well, think about hyper-targeted ads playing on insecurities, or political messages designed purely to trigger strong emotional reactions, bypassing rational thought.
Oh, okay.
Our tendency to chase feelings, rather than, say, facts or deeper values, can make us easier to influence. The article even uses that really strong word, feeling like a slave to these engineered fantasies.
Wow. Okay. So we've outlined the problem, this dopamine fantasy, and why it's potentially harmful. The crucial next step is obviously what do we do about it? How do we break free? The article does offer some ways forward.
It does. And the first step, maybe the most important one, is just awareness, becoming conscious of our own patterns.
Noticing it in ourselves.
Exactly. When do you reach for your phone without thinking? What makes you click buy now? Start asking honestly, is this action really adding to my long-term well-being? Or is it just scratching a momentary itch?
That self-reflection is key, isn't it? Am I just seeking a quick hit, or am I actually building something meaningful? The article then suggests shifting focus away from the external towards the internal.
Shifting from seeking happiness out there to cultivating it in here, it recommends actively choosing activities that give a deeper, more sustained sense of meaning or satisfaction.
Like what, for example?
Well, things like really engaging with a hobby you love, investing time in meaningful relationships, friends, family, learning something new just for the sake of it, maybe contributing to a cause you believe in, things that build connection or competence or purpose.
Things that provide more than just a fleeting buzz.
Right. They often provide a different kind of reward, maybe less intense initially, but much more um, fulfilling, more resonant.
And what about just being present? The article mentions that too, right? Appreciating the now.
Yes, absolutely. Finding joy in simple, everyday things. Not always needing the next big event or purchase to feel okay. It's about consciously stepping off that dopamine treadmill, as the article calls it.
Taking back control.
Taking back control of where you find your sense of well-being.
There's that quote near the end of the article that really stuck with me. Happiness is not a destination, it's a journey. Understanding this whole dopamine thing feels like, well, it feels like getting a better map for that journey.
That's a great way to put it. And the core takeaway, I think, is learning to distinguish between that short-term dopamine-driven pleasure and that deeper, more resilient sense of genuine fulfillment. They're not the same thing.
Not at all. So maybe the question to leave everyone with thinking about all this is, how might actually recognizing this dopamine fantasy in your own life change the choices you make day to day, but also for the long haul?
Yeah.
It's definitely given me a lot to think about. We really encourage you to reflect on your own patterns, your own pursuit of pleasure versus maybe deeper satisfaction, and see what comes up. It's worth considering.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.